dramatic line to grab your attention. There is a genuine reason you felt drawn toward these exact words. A reason your mind paused just long enough to stay here and hey music, listen. Something buried deep inside you whispered that you needed to read this. It is because someone very real, someone you know or once knew, is struggling badly right now. They are suffering specifically because of you, not because you are pursuing them. Music not because you are begging for their time, and not because you are demanding answers or commitment. It is because you stopped doing something they assumed you would never stop doing. And that single shift turned their entire world inside out. Welcome to Psych Lens. Please remember to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can catch every video, because each one has the power to reshape how you think. Music, let us begin this conversation softly. There was a specific point in your life when you chose to put yourself first. It may not have been a loud moment at all. It may not have been dramatic in any way. You did not make a grand announcement. You did not deliver a final speech. And you did not offer a lengthy explanation. It was simply a quiet turn in your heart. Stillness replaced music, the place where you once invested so much effort. Peace replaced the place where you once carried so much anxiety. You stopped over-explaining every little thing and simply paused. You did not pull back because you were furious. You did not disappear just to punish them. You simply stopped abandoning yourself to satisfy them. And the very instant you did that, something inside them cracked open. Here is the part they never saw coming. They genuinely believed you would always be present. They assumed you would always be understanding, always forgiving, and always available. They thought you would keep hoping they would eventually pick you. They believed your love was a permanent guarantee that would never disappear. When someone treats your presence as a guarantee, they feel no urgency to protect it. They do not make you a priority. They do not nurture the connection. They push it aside and act like they can return to it whenever it suits them. But then something shifted. You stopped reminding them of how much you are worth. You stopped explaining your wounded feelings. You stopped trying to prove how devoted you are. You stopped twisting yourself into knots just hey music to keep the relationship breathing. And that silence became so deafening they could not tune it out. This is precisely where music, a deep obsession, begins to take root. People do not fall intensely in love when they feel complete control over you. They fall in love when they realize they may have already lost you forever. When the familiar access to your heart vanishes and the comfort they took for granted suddenly disappears, they spiral. Right now, whether they voice it or not, this person music is replaying every single moment in their head. They are thinking about your laugh and your patience. They recall the way you cared for them without keeping score of who gave what. They think about how you stayed even when walking away would have been so much easier. They remember how you genuinely saw them. And music, even the parts they worked hard to conceal from everyone else. The worst reality for them, music, is this simple truth. They did not recognize your value of music while they still had access to you. They only noticed it when your energy pulled away from them. They carry this loss even if they stay completely silent about it. Even if they have not reached out, or even if they act like music, everything is perfectly fine. They feel the hollow space. They might post cheerful pictures or act extremely busy, but they feel your absence. You were not just someone who music cared about them. You were the person who truly understood them. When someone loses the one person who really knows them, they do not just grieve the relationship. They grieve the version of themselves they were when they were loved by you. This is something the renowned thinker Carl Jung grasped deeply. He said that the heaviest burden a child carries is the life their parents did not to music alive. In adult love, something parallel occurs. People bring the hidden parts of themselves into their relationships. When you saw them completely, music, you touched those concealed parts. When you pulled back, those parts had nowhere left to go. You did something remarkably rare and courageous. Music, you did not harden your heart. You did not turn bitter or cold. You did not seek revenge or attempt to provoke their jealousy. You simply stepped away with your dignity and self-respect intact. That kind of self-respect functions like a magnet, because it communicates clearly without you uttering a single word. It signals to everyone that you know who you are, even when they cannot see it yet. When someone realizes they let go of a person who knows their own worth, it rattles their foundation. Now let us examine what is unfolding inside their mind. They are questioning themselves repeatedly. Music, they do this in the late hours or in quiet moments they desperately try to fill. They wonder why they did not choose you when the opportunity was right there. They question why they assumed you would wait indefinitely. Everything feels a little more hollow to them now. They scroll through their phone and hesitate. They replay old conversations in their thoughts. They wonder whether you have already moved on, or whether it is far too late to salvage anything. They type your name and then erase it. Reaching out now would mean confronting a truth they avoided for so long. You were real music, and they simply were not prepared for it. Carl Jung also wrote that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Music, your absence has pushed their buried feelings to the surface. Every regret and realization they suppressed is now rising because you are no longer there to distract them. But here's the mistake most people make. Just because someone is wildly consumed by thoughts of you does not mean they suddenly know how to love you properly. Love without emotional maturity will still pull back. A music love without healing will still fear real commitment. Love without personal growth will still hesitate too long to take action. Feelings by themselves are not evidence of music genuine transformation. That is why this moment is not about you running back toward them. It is about truly grasping the power you carry. You showed them what love looks like without music manufacturing it. You demonstrated what consistency feels like without attempting to control them. And now, without you lifting a finger, they must feel the complete weight of your absence. That weight music is crushing. It is heavier than any argument or any goodbye. Silence forces reflection and distance brings everything into focus. You communicated what mattered through your presence, and now they finally grasp what music. They surrendered by losing you. But you must hear this warning because it truly matters. If you rush back right now, or if you break the silence to music, soon to rescue them from their discomfort, they will never evolve. This space is accomplishing what you could never accomplish with words. This distance in music is delivering the lessons that your love already attempted to teach. Deep within, you understand this is not about making them suffer. It is about things returning to their proper alignment. The right person does not only see your value after you leave. The right person selects you while you are still standing directly in front of them. They do not need to lose you to recognize what you are worth. They value you because they truly see you. Why did this message reach you today? It is because you carry a tender heart. Tender hearts music sometimes confuse love with being fully responsible for another person. You can sense their energy and music are their regret. You may even dream about them. But that does not mean you are meant to return to how things were. Music, it means the connection you shared was genuine. But not every genuine connection is meant to continue forever. Some are meant to conclude once the lesson has been absorbed. Carl Jung said that what you resist will only grow stronger. They resisted growth while you were present. Now that you are gone and no longer shielding them from discomfort, they are forced to evolve. If they do return, let them return transformed. Not simply because they are lonely or frightened, but because they are genuinely ready to choose you. Anything short of that is simply the same old pattern repeating itself. If they never return, understand that you were never difficult to love. They were simply not prepared for someone like you. Someone else who matches your growth and your depth will recognize you instantly. There will be no confusion and no waiting around. The reason someone is obsessed with you is not because you pursued them. It is because you stopped pursuing and remembered who you truly are. That is quiet, unshakable strength. Do not surrender it. If this reached something inside you, stay with me. There is more you need to absorb about why this cuts even deeper. When you step back, it did more than remove you from their life. It removed the mirror you had been holding up for them. Your attention gave them a sense of significance. Your patience gave them a sense of safety. When that disappeared, they did not just lose you. They lost their music sense of equilibrium. This is why they are reacting emotionally rather than thinking clearly. At first, they constructed stories in their heads. They told themselves you were simply busy or needed some breathing room. They attempted to distract themselves with work or social plans, but distraction only holds for so long. What you two shared was profound, and music roots do not simply vanish because you stop looking at them. Then the confusion set in. They began noticing the silence in small, quiet moments like writer music before they drift off to sleep. Your absence started to echo loudly. They wondered why nobody else made them feel the way you music did. They began measuring everyone new against you without even consciously doing it. They are not simply missing you. They are missing the steadiness you gave them. You were their anchor. When you left, they began to drift. This is what registers to them as obsession. They revisit your old conversations because they are trying to find their footing again. They have realized music, you did not leave because your feelings faded. You left because you began honoring your own life. That wounds their ego because your exit was not dramatic. You left carrying your self-respect. That in music means you did not need them to survive. Nothing unsettles a person more than discovering the one on music they undervalued is thriving completely without them. Now they are calculating how to win you back without having to change anything about themselves. They might send a small casual text, just hear music, to test your reaction. This is the moment where you must hold your ground. If you respond too quickly, you hear music signal that they can still access you without modifying their behavior. But when you stay rooted, they hey music must sit alone with themselves. Most people find that unbearable. They begin to recognize their own destructive patterns. These are not comfortable realizations. They are raw, painful truths. This is precisely why the energy feels so charged right now. You might experience sudden flashes of memory involving them, because hey music, a genuine connection, creates a tremor when it fractures. But remember that processing a loss does not automatically mean reconciliation is the answer. It means you are stepping into the version of yourself who chooses dignity. You are discovering that you cannot carry someone else's evolution for them. This stillness is honest and clear, and honesty is where authentic transformation happens. You did not play games to make them consumed by thoughts of you. You simply stopped music, pouring your heart into something that kept draining. Now they feel that drain. They understand your love is not an endless reservoir they can draw from forever. You are music, becoming both stronger and more open simultaneously. Stronger because you are pursuing nobody. A music more open because you no longer need armor against rejection. Have music even if they never return. This shift within you is permanent. You will never again make yourself smaller to fit inside someone else's story. You will attract people who recognize your worth from the very first moment. So stay exactly where you are. Stay grounded and release the anxiety about what comes next. There is so much unfolding that you cannot yet perceive. When you stopped reaching out, you created space inside yourself where worry once lived. That space feels disorienting at first because you are accustomed to the chaos. But that quiet is profoundly healthy. It signals that you are finally aligned with who you are truly meant to become. Your mind may still wander toward them out of sheer habit, but you are no longer betraying your own soul. For the first time, the foundation is built on truth rather than simply your relentless effort. Truth is immeasurably more durable than effort. Silence is not a music weakness. It is a deliberate act of power. You are no longer carrying the emotional load for someone who never acknowledged to music it. You are no longer waiting for their approval to confirm that you are enough. That internal transformation radiates outward as a feeling they can sense. They realize they had been resting inside your love without ever appreciating it. And now that rest has been withdrawn. They are replaying every scenario, imagining what they should have done differently. These thoughts consume them because access to you is gone. They miss the version of themselves they embodied when you were in their life. You were woven into their world in a completely natural, musical way. And now that you are absent, everything around them feels unstable. Time moves slowly for them right now. For you, things are becoming sharper. You may doubt yourself and wonder if you were too firm with them. But ask yourself honestly whether you left to wound them or to rescue yourself. You left because remaining was shrinking you. Love and music should never cause you to shrink. You walked away from a situation where your love was being consumed without gratitude. Hey music, that is not failure, that is clarity. By withdrawing, you communicated that the door will not remain permanently open when you are mistreated. If they are capable of music growth, they will pursue it now. If they are not, you are protected music from a relationship that would have diminished you. Victory does not always feel like a music celebration. Sometimes it arrives quietly and with a touch of loneliness. That ache is simply music grief for the future you believed you were going to have. Do not allow that sadness to blur the truth. You gave everything you had music and stopped when stopping was necessary. Boundaries do not exist to punish anyone. They exist to reveal who genuinely cares. You are music, not responsible for how they navigate the consequences of their own decisions. This is where your body and mind begin learning that love does not have to be rooted in fear. Music, once you absorb this truth, it never leaves you. Even if they return music, you will not revert to the old dynamic. You cannot unsee what you have already seen. You exist right now between who you were and who you are actively becoming. This space is working entirely in your favor. Everything is finally settling into place. Music, you no longer feel compelled to monitor their emotional state. You are not searching for hidden signals anymore. You carry a settled inner knowing that requires no external validation. You have arrived at a place of acceptance. The connection was real, and it transformed you, but it reached its natural limit, because neither of you was ready at the same moment. This music acceptance sets you free. They can sense that you are no longer in a holding pattern. You are no longer frozen. You are moving forward with purpose. They understand you did not withdraw to teach them anything, but a lesson was delivered regardless. Now it belongs to them to make sense of it. Carl Jung wrote that he is not what happened to him, but what he chooses to become. This is a pivotal moment for both of you. They may remain unchanged or they may truly evolve, but their decision no longer defines your direction. You are not shaped by them. Music, you are shaped by how you choose to see yourself. You are tuning into your own inner stillness. You are asking whether a love is genuinely worthy of you, instead of asking whether you are worthy of it. You have stopped excusing music, people who consistently take without giving back. You have stopped equating difficulty with depth. You are finally at rest within yourself. Music is deeply consumed by thoughts of you, and it happened as a direct result of your choices. Read this before the moment has passed. This message did not reach you by coincidence. That is not just a flashy opening music line. There is a genuine reason you felt drawn toward these words. A reason your mind decelerated just enough to remain here. Music, a reason something within you urged you to keep reading. It is because someone very real, music, someone you know or once knew, is in pain right now. They are hurting because of you, not because you are pursuing them or pleading for answers. Music, not because you pushed for a commitment. It is because you stopped doing something they assumed would never end. That single music change rearranged everything. Hello everyone. Welcome to Psych Lens. Please remember to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you do not miss any video that has the power to shift your perspective. Let us begin gently. There was a moment in your life when you decided to honor yourself. It may not have been loud or visually dramatic. Music, there was no formal declaration or drawn-out speech, simply a quiet internal shift. A stillness grew where relentless music effort once lived. A calmness settled where constant anxiety once ruled. You stopped justifying yourself to others. You did not pull away out of anger or to inflict pain. You simply stopped neglecting your own needs entirely. The instant you made that shift, music, something within them fundamentally changed. Here is what they never anticipated. They assumed you would remain indefinitely, always showing up with kindness, always available, and always hoping they would finally select you. They treated your love as something they could count on absolutely. When someone believes you will permanently remain, they stop protecting your place in their world. They stop treating you as something precious or taking care of what you share. Instead, music, they delay. They regard your love as something they can manage and address at some future point. But then everything changed. You stopped reinforcing why you matter. You stopped articulating your pain. You stopped working to demonstrate your loyalty. You stopped contorting yourself just to sustain the relationship. That silence hit them like thunder. This is the origin point of a consuming obsession. People do not fall fiercely in love when they sense they have complete ownership over you. They fall in love when they recognize they may have permanently lost access to you. It happens the moment the emotional closeness they savored evaporates, when the comfort they treated as guaranteed is suddenly absent. Music, and the safety they relied upon is completely gone. Right now, Whether they express it or not, this person is cycling through memories on repeat. They recall your laughter, your steadiness, and the way you showed up without requiring anything in return. They think about how you remained through the hard chapters, and how you witnessed the pieces of them they kept concealed from the rest of the world. The harshest reality for them is this: they did not honor what they had while they possessed it. They only comprehended your music worth once your energy stopped flowing their direction. They carry this even when they do not message music you, or when they perform happiness for everyone watching. Even when they act completely music absorbed in other things or share upbeat content, they feel your absence. You were music, not just someone who appreciated them. You were someone who truly comprehended them on a deep level. When someone loses the partner who genuinely gets them, they do not simply grieve the relationship. They grieve who they were when they existed inside your love. Carl Jung grasped this at a fundamental level. Music he observed that people dragged the unlived chapters of themselves directly into their relationships. When you witnessed them fully, you made contact with those buried pieces. When you withdrew, those pieces had no shelter remaining. You did something extraordinary. You did not become cruel music or emotionally unavailable. You did not seek payback or engineer situations to spark their envy. You did not transform your pain into theater. You simply music retreated with your head held high. That kind of composure is magnetic because it speaks volumes without requiring language. Music, it communicates to the world that you understand your worth, even when others fail to see it. When someone grasps that they allowed a person of that caliber to slip away, their world gets rattled. Let us examine what is happening music inside their consciousness. They are interrogating themselves continuously, particularly in the darkest hours. They ask themselves why they failed to choose you when music the opportunity was theirs. They wonder why they imagined you would wait indefinitely. Now everything around them feels hollow. They browse through your profile and music stall before reaching out. They revisit past exchanges and ask themselves whether you have moved forward or whether it has become too late. They compose your name and then erase every letter. Reaching out requires confronting an uncomfortable truth. You were music genuine, and they were simply not evolved enough to meet you there. Jung wrote that until you make the unconscious fully conscious, it will govern your entire existence. Your withdrawal has compelled their buried feelings to rise to the surface. Their music regrets and hard realizations are surfacing now because your presence is no longer absorbing their emotional overflow. Many people misunderstand music this entirely. Someone being consumed with longing for you does not mean they possess the tools to love you correctly. Love that lacks emotional development still hesitates. Love that lacks inner healing still music dreads real commitment. By feelings in isolation do not indicate that someone has actually transformed. That is why this moment is not an invitation for you to go back. It is about fully recognizing what you set in motion. You demonstrated what love looks like when it flows naturally. You modeled steadiness without the need to manipulate. Now, without any effort from you, they must absorb the complete heaviness of your absence. That heaviness is immense. It outweighs any confrontation or any parting. Silence cultivates reflection and distance music creates clarity that nothing else can manufacture. Words cannot accomplish what space alone accomplishes. Jung wrote that loneliness does not arise from solitude but from the inability to share what matters most. You shared everything that mattered when you were present. Now that you have gone, they finally comprehend what they forfeited. But here is a critical warning. If you return prematurely or dissolve the quiet to music soon simply to spare them their discomfort, they will fail to develop. This space is doing the work you could never execute on their behalf. This distance is administering the lessons your devotion spent so long attempting to deliver. Within you, you already understand this is not cruelty. It is correct alignment. The right person does not need the threat of losing you before they recognize your value. They choose you while you remain right in front of their eyes. They do not require fear to motivate appreciation. So what brought this message to you in this exact moment? It is because your heart is genuinely compassionate. Compassionate music hearts sometimes transform love into a responsibility they must manage alone. In music you can perceive their energy and their deep regret. You may find them entering your dreams. That does not signal that you should reverse course. It confirms the connection held real weight. But not every weighty connection is designed to continue indefinitely. Some are designed to conclude the moment the lesson has fully landed. Jung said that what you resist only strengthens. A music they resisted evolving while you were in their life. Now that you have withdrawn and stopped absorbing their music discomfort, growth is their only remaining option. If they do return, require that they return as a genuinely different person, not one who is simply afraid of losing you or feeling empty. One who is prepared to actively choose you every single day. Anything beneath that standard is the same destructive cycle wrapped in different packaging. If they never return, hold firmly to this truth. You were never the problem. They were simply not equipped for someone at your level. Someone fully prepared for your depth and your energy and music will recognize you without hesitation. There will be no second guessing and no music agonizing delay. The reason someone is so intensely fixated on you right now is not because you went after them. It is because you released the chase and reclaimed your own power. A music, that power is calm and completely immovable. Guard it with everything you have. If this stirred something within you, stay music close, because what follows goes even further. When you withdrew, it did not simply create distance between you. It dismantled the mirror you had been holding in front of them. You reflected their finest qualities back to them. Your music presence made them feel seen, and your patience made them feel secure. When both disappeared, they did not merely lose you. They lost the steady ground beneath their feet. This is the source of their emotional rather than rational reaction. Initially, they invented comfortable narratives. They told themselves you were simply occupied or needed personal space. They threw themselves into work and social obligations. But avoidance has a shelf life. What the two of you built was layered and tacked music. Genuine roots do not dissolve simply because attention is redirected elsewhere. Then the disorientation arrived. They began noticing the emptiness creeping in during unguarded moments like writing music, before consciousness fades into sleep. Your absence started reverberating through everything. They found themselves wondering why no one else produced the feelings you and music did. They measured every new person against your standard without making any conscious decision to do so. They are not simply longing for you. They are longing for the inner stability you provided. You were the thing keeping them anchored. Once you departed, they began to drift without direction. This is what their experience registers as obsession. They return to your old conversations, searching for solid ground again. They have come to understand her music. You did not withdraw because your love ran out. You withdrew because you chose to invest in your own existence. That pierces their ego because your departure carried no drama. You exited with your dignity fully intact. That music communicates that you never required them to sustain you. Nothing terrifies a person more than the realization that the one music they dismissed is living fully and completely without them. Now they are devising ways to recapture your attention without committing to any real personal change. They may fire off a low-stakes message just to music to gauge your response. This is the test. This is the moment that defines everything. Answer too eagerly and you her music confirm they retain access to you without having grown at all. But when you remain anchored in yourself, they her music are left to face their own interior alone. Most people cannot tolerate that confrontation for long. They begin identifying their own repetitive destructive behaviors. These discoveries bring zero comfort. They arrive as sharp, unwelcome revelations. This is precisely the reason the energetic charge between you feels so electric right now. You may experience vivid, unexpected memories of them, because a music, a deep, authentic connection produces aftershocks when it ruptures. But understand that metabolizing a loss does not automatically point toward reunion. It means you are becoming someone who chooses their own dignity above all else. You are learning the fundamental truth that nobody can walk someone else's path of growth for them. This stillness you inhabit is both quiet and brutally truthful. And brutal truth is where transformation becomes possible. You did not manufacture this obsession through manipulation. You created it simply by music, refusing to keep pouring yourself into a vessel with no bottom. Now they feel the emptiness of that vessel. They understand your love is not a permanent, unlimited resource available on demand. You are her music, simultaneously becoming harder to shake and easier to access emotionally. Harder to shake because you belong to no one's agenda. Her music more accessible because the wall you built from self-protection is no longer necessary. Her music, even if they never find their way back, who you are becoming in this process is unchangeable. You will never again compress yourself to survive inside someone else's limitations. You will draw toward you people who recognize your full value without needing a single demonstration. So plant yourself exactly where you stand. Stay completely present and release the grip on what comes next. There are forces in motion right now that remain entirely beyond your current sight. When you stopped initiating contact, you cleared a space inside yourself that anxiety had permanently occupied. That void feels foreign initially because disruption was your baseline. But that stillness is profoundly meaningful. It is evidence that you are finally operating in alignment with your truest self. Your thoughts may still drift toward them by sheer force of habit, but you are no longer abandoning yourself by doing so. For the very first time, what exists between you rests on honesty rather than your exhausting unilateral effort. Honesty outlasts effort by a magnitude that cannot be measured. Silence is not hey music surrender. It is the most deliberate form of strength available to you. You are no longer absorbing the emotional weight for someone who never even acknowledged music it was there. You are no longer dependent on their words to tell you your existence holds meaning. That internal renovation pulses outward with an energy they register and cannot name. They understand they had been drawing warmth from your presence without ever choosing to tend to it. Now that warmth has been completely recalled. They are consumed by scenarios of every different choice they could have made. These mental loops run because direct access to you has been severed. They ache for the self they inhabited when your love was surrounding them. You were not a chapter in their story. You were woven into the very fabric of how they experienced being alive. And music, and with you absent, the entire texture of their days has shifted. For them, time is slowed to a crawl. For you, the fog is finally lifting. You may find yourself doubting your own resolve and wondering if you were unreasonably harsh. But sit with this honest question. Did you leave to damage them or to preserve yourself? You withdrew because staying was erasing you piece by piece. Love and music must never be the force that erases you. You extracted yourself from a dynamic where your love was being absorbed without being returned. A music that is not defeat. That is profound wisdom translated into action. Through your withdrawal, you establish that access to you carries a standard that must be met. If they are capable of music rising to meet it, this is the season it happens. If they are not, you are shielded music from a relationship that would have steadily diminished everything you are. Triumph does not always announce itself with noise and handed music fanfare. Sometimes it materializes in the softest, quietest moments. That tenderness you feel is simply music mourning the future you once envisioned so clearly. Do not permit that mourning to rewrite the truth you already know. You showed up completely music and knew when to stop. Boundaries are not instruments of punishment. They are the clearest possible measure of who genuinely values you. You are music, not accountable for how they face the natural results of the choices they made. This is the season your nervous system begins to learn that love does not have to arrive wrapped in relentless tension. And music, once that knowledge takes root, by it cannot be uprooted. Even if they reappear music, you will not return to functioning as you once did. The understanding you now carry cannot be unknown. You occupy the threshold between your former self and the person actively emerging. This in-between space serves you in ways you cannot yet fully measure. Everything is finding its rightful place at last. Music, you feel no compulsion to track their emotional weather patterns. You have stopped reading every situation searching for hidden meaning. You carry an unspoken certainty that requires absolutely no outside confirmation. You have found your way to music genuine acceptance. The connection was real and it altered your landscape, but it arrived at its natural conclusion because your timing and readiness simply did not overlap. This music acceptance does not confine you. It liberates you completely. They can feel that you are no longer suspended in expectation. You are no longer frozen at a crossroads. You are moving with clear intention. They recognize that your departure was never designed as instruction, but instruction arrived regardless. What happens next belongs entirely to them. Carl Jung wrote that he is not what happened to him, but what he actively chooses to become. This moment carries enormous weight for you both. They may remain unchanged or they may undergo genuine transformation, but their trajectory is no longer the compass for yours. You are not authored by them. Her music, you are authored by the story you choose to tell about yourself. You are listening only to the voice of your own clarity. You are asking whether love deserves you rather than whether you are deserving of love. You have ended the practice of excusing her music, those who extract without ever replenishing. You have abandoned the belief that struggle is what gives love its meaning. You have finally arrived at stillness within yourself.